Welcome back. While the consensus on Capitol Hill this morning was for a crackdown on TikTok over its ties to the Chinese government, the feeling is not universal. New York Congressman Jamal Bowman told NBC News yesterday there are many apps on our phones right now that are Chinese apps. And so the idea that, oh, TikTok is the boogeyman, it's just part of a political fear-mongering that is happening. Joining me now is New York Democratic Congressman Jamal Bowman. Congressman, I appreciate you coming on. So let me start with the first question there. You heard from TikTok CEO. You think he did a good job defending the app? Or do you think you would have done a better job defending the app?
Listen, it's tough to sit there and answer hundreds of questions about any topic, even if you are an expert. But it was good for him to come. It was good for him to be in the hot seat. It was good for him to answer the questions that he had to answer. But I think part of his testimony that I want to highlight, and which I've been talking about all week, is we're targeting TikTok for safety and security reasons, particularly national security reasons. But we're not talking about all of the social media apps out there that have access to our data, often without our consent or understanding of where the data is going or how it works. And our data is now being sold, has always been sold to the highest bidders, both in foreign nations and here in our country. So for me, it's about having a larger conversation about the harms and benefits of social media, and to finally work in a bipartisan way for national legislation around safety and security on all social media platforms.
All right, let me ask you this. Why shouldn't the government be concerned about foreign ownership of companies that target Americans on the consumer level if that country is an antagonist to our way of life?
So first, I haven't seen any evidence that shows me as a member of Congress that these countries have been, China or any other country, has been a bad actor in this space in this way, except Russians' interference in our 2016 election, and that happened on Facebook. And there was no conversation at that point about banning Facebook, selling Facebook, breaking up Facebook.
A lot of people deleted Facebook.
Correct, right? But still not enough. But now we have this consistent fear-mongering, starting with the Republican Party, and now many Democrats are sort of catching on around China and around their access to our data, but just this overall sort of global competition with China in all its forms. And, you know, that's how Republicans govern. That's how this place works way too often, around fear. Let's take a step back and have a comprehensive conversation about social media, about addiction, about monopolies, about time on the apps, and about safety and security of our data.
So let's talk about,
excuse me,
what is a data privacy law? What kind of teeth would you like to see in a data privacy law that you think would assuage many people's concerns about TikTok specifically? What could we do in a national law that would answer our TikTok concerns?
First of all, what in the world is happening with my data as we speak? What are you doing with it? Where is it? Where does it go? Who is it being sold to? We need that education. Many
we don't
users
know, right?
are on these platforms. We have no idea. Our data is just out there somewhere, and it's being used. Everything from facial recognition software to the Catholic Church buying data from the app Grindr to search for gay priests. This was reported by the Washington Post. So all of this is happening. All of this data is out there. We have no knowledge of it. First, we need knowledge. Second, we need consent. Do I consent to you using my data in these ways or not? And if I don't, then don't use it. The problem is the entire advertising infrastructure for Facebook and other American companies is built on this data. So if that data comes away, ad dollars come away. If those ad dollars come away, these companies are broke, and they've been allowed to build oligarchies over this time. And now we're focused on TikTok and not talking about the others. That's unacceptable, and that's not how we should be governing.
Who in the government should look at algorithms?
Well, I would hope that would be my committee, the Science, Space, and Tech Committee, which has jurisdiction over research and development. Ironically, we currently don't have jurisdiction over the internet, which should absolutely change. but also the Energy and Commerce Committee as well. But all of government should look at algorithms because, as you know, there have been biases in algorithms from a racial perspective, and we also know, facial recognition software is something else that's being bought and sold in larger markets, bought and sold to law enforcement. There's been mistaken identities when it comes to facial recognition software and the algorithms. So there are two committees on the House side that can look at this issue, but it should be a whole of government approach. And my concern with President Biden and the U.S. Senate, you're jumping off a cliff to ban TikTok, and we haven't even had have a larger conversation around the understanding of how all this works.
What do you think happens if TikTok does get banned? People just gravitate to another platform?
Well, people will gravitate to another platform, or a new platform will be created. That's what will happen. But here's what I think we're also losing sight of. 150 million Americans are on TikTok right now. 5 million businesses are on TikTok. People use TikTok to earn a living. 150 million Americans, many of them young people, many of them tend to lean Democratic. So if the Democratic Party is a part of shutting down a platform that they have used to build community and to be in a space where they are often accepted and connected with others, in a space where they don't get that on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, it can harm us politically in 2024, but more importantly, it can harm the American people in our sense of well-being, because people find space to be themselves on TikTok that they can't find somewhere else.
But if there really is a national security concern, the economic argument then rings hollow, does it not?
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, so if there's Chinese espionage happening on TikTok, absolutely, that trumps everything else. The problem is there's been no evidence of that, but there's been hysteria. And my point is, take a step back, look at the national security concerns of all platforms. I mean, Donald Trump used Twitter to nurture the behavior that occurred on January 6th in a violent insurrection. That's a national security concern. Looking the other way and allowing Russia to interfere in the 2016 election, that's a national security concern. I would argue that misinformation and the spreading of misinformation on these platforms are a national security concern. And even more importantly, they impact the psychology of the American people in a way that's negative and harmful to us, forcing us to almost be at war with ourselves. This happens on American platforms, not just on TikTok.
No, I mean, it's the important point. All the concerns about TikTok apply to every other social media company. I get the point you're making, and I think it rings very true to a lot of people. Congressman Jamal Bowman, Democrat from New York City, good to see you. Thanks for coming on, sharing your perspective.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.